Hello darlings! Before I start this tutorial, I just wanted to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for 1,000 subscribers. I just never imagined this happening this fast. It's been such an exciting thing, and thank you to every single one of you who have subscribed and watched my videos, and for all the lovely comments you've left me. So thank you so much, and I hope you enjoy this little video of just my regular hair set. I know some of you have asked for a tutorial on how I do my hair. So I do a mix of both foam rollers and pin curls, just for the pure fact that I don't have enough foam rollers. So I use the foam rollers in the back, and then framing around my face I just do my pin curls. So I make do with what I have. But occasionally I like to do a full head of pin curls, and that gives a very different look. It's more like a page boy, where all the curls, instead of having the curls up here, it's smooth all the way down and then rolls under at the bottom, which is a really nice look, but it just takes longer. So this is a set that I gravitate towards more often. I hope it clears up any questions or queries you might have about pin curling and just curling your hair in general for that vintage look. So yes, I hope this helps, and I hope you enjoyed the video. You will need foam rollers, bobby pins or pin curling clips, a hairbrush and a comb, water or setting spray, and your hairspray of choice. And you're ready to go. The first thing I like to do before I curl my hair is thoroughly brush it out. You want to make sure your hair is free of knots, because otherwise it just makes your job more difficult. I like to dampen my hair section by section, otherwise if I do my whole head it dries quickly. So I will do a small section at the front and then roll that up, and so this is where I frame the little pin curls around my face because I don't have enough foam rollers. But I make do, and I make these small little pin curls about the width of your finger, so you should be able to stick your finger through that pin curl. And I bobby pin that in place and spritz it with a little bit more water to hold that in place. And I do about 4 on each side, 4 to 5 little pin curls. The pin curls should all be facing towards you rather than away, so that all those curls are going in the same direction. And there will be 2 to 3 pin curls on the right side of my head standing up, which allows for that volume when you brush it out, so it's not pressed flat against your head. You want that volume on the top there. And make sure to tuck in those little ends. You don't want any of those poking out, because you're not going to have a perfect ringlet by the time your hair is dry, and the curls won't be uniform if you do have some little stray pieces that haven't been set properly. Now, moving on to the foam rollers, you want to thoroughly saturate your ends, and you can take larger sections than what you did in the front and roll those up to the base of your head and snap those into place. You want to keep your hair as flat and ribbon-like as possible on this foam roller, because if it's twisted up, it's not going to result in a nice curl in the end. I try to make the rows of curls all at the same level so that all the curls weave together in the end when I brush it out. So you can do 2 to 3 rows at the back of your head, just depending on how much hair you have and how many rollers you have. After completing your first row, you can then move on to the row below. For some reason I left quite a space between my rows, which I don't usually do. You should try and keep them as close together as possible, so that by the time you brush it out, the curls really are easily molded all together, because with more of a space and an uneven setting pattern, it can disrupt the layers of curls that are going to be produced when you brush out. And it may look a little messy, but that's okay. As long as all of your hair has been curled up into those foam rollers, it should be fine. And I like to give my head a spritz over one last time before I put on my headscarf. I find that the best headscarves to let your hair breathe during the night and for it to dry is either a fine cotton or a mesh, something that is breathable and is going to let your hair dry. I like to leave my hair drying overnight for at least 8 to 10 hours. Honestly, the longer the better, because if it's too short and you take your set out and it's still damp, There is nothing worse than that feeling of having a droopy set. It just is very unsatisfying, and yeah, you just have to change your whole hairstyle for that day if it hasn't worked out. And yes, by this point you should have absolutely gorgeous Shirley Temple ringlets. We need to brush through it, even though it's very cute. And we're going to leave our fringe up for the moment so we can work on that at the very end. But before you can brush through those ringlets, it would be very difficult to brush through those perfectly tight little curls. So you need to run your fingers through all of your hair to loosen up all of that before you can then brush it. I could tell at this point I needed to pull my sleeves up. It was going to be a bigger job than I thought. My hair was being pretty temperamental and it just felt really fluffy. So usually it's very easy brushing through my hair. It takes maybe about 5 minutes. But on this particular day, it was being a little bit difficult. So I took my time and I was brushing through it with my regular vintage hairbrush, but I ended up having to go in with a paddle brush just because I needed stronger bristles to brush through all of that. And the technique that I usually use when I brush out my hair is just really using both my hand and the brush to just brush it all together and brushing it over my hand at the bottom to curl under the ends. And yeah, just keep brushing and brushing and brushing until all the waves just form together and it looks neat and presentable. And this is when I came in with the paddle brush just because I needed extra strength and power to pull through those curls. They were a little bit knotty for some reason, so I just needed a stronger brush to help mold the curls together. And as I mentioned before, making sure to brush the curls over your hand and kind of curl that around your thumb. That really helps to finish off the curl and it looks very neat that way. And for the back of your hair, just trying your best, you know, because you can't see it, but you can use a little handheld mirror to see what it looks like after you finish brushing. Now that the rest of the hair is done, we can move on to the fringe. Now unfortunately one of my little pieces didn't curl quite properly on the very end, but that's okay, we'll make it work. That can happen so easily, so always make sure that you curl that so perfectly when you're setting your hair. Now you can just run your comb or your brush through your fringe and sometimes it just magically sits perfectly. So this time it worked out really well and I didn't have to do much to it. And I always like to pin back one side of my hair behind my ear and then I will slide a pin in underneath my fringe to secure that in place so it doesn't fly away during the day. And don't forget to hairspray the masterpiece that you've created. And especially since I don't use a setting spray, this is a very important step. And yes, try not to spray it directly into your ear. And you're done. Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you next Sunday. Bye! I'm tasting the hairspray, it's really gross, it's still in the air.